The thing that I like most about Jon Favreau is how he likes to keep things interesting, and he likes to create a system that's really going to keep fans very much excited for what's coming out next. This is exactly what he did with Mando Season 2 with the introduction of Luke Skywalker, and it's the same exact thing what they are about to do with Mando Season 3 and the Ahsoka Tano series. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the kind and great support. Now, one thing that Favreau and Filoni are very invested in is exactly how they can really create a lot of suspense and a lot of excitement for the Star Wars fans, and to really make these specific revelations, not just in Mando 3, but also in Mando 4, that's really going to propel the franchise into a different state. Now, we already know that Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, has been very close with Jon and Dave and what they're working on, and how Bob Iger did confirm a couple of days ago, we talked about this, of how they really are raising the bar when it comes to Star Wars. They are doing pretty much unexpected things with their material that's coming forward, that the fans are about to witness in this year, of course, in March, as well as next year for Mando 4. Now that brings us to the next big thing. Jon and Dave, what they are essentially doing is that they're taking a lot of elements from Heir to the Empire and the Throne trilogy as a whole, and how that's going to be a big way of storytelling in the Ahsoka series and just the Mandoverse as a whole, essentially. Now, what's great about this is that one thing that Favreau was able to actually talk about just recently and tease to the fans kind of makes fans a little bit more hyped and excited about what's coming out for the new revelations. Let's tap into this. Now, with Favreau, of course, and Filoni working on delivering major revelations in The Mandalorian Season 4, Favreau recently made a big tease for what's planned with Grogu's true identity in the upcoming season of Mando and more. Now, Favreau went on to directly state this to the fandom when he was questioned about Grogu's origins. He goes on to say, "Well, what we have been creating for Grogu and his story, we believe is going to rattle the internet for months and rip it apart. We wanted to create some reveals that were going to stick in the fans' minds for a long while, leaving them excited for what's going to happen next. We wanted to make sure that Grogu's true identity and what his origins really are, and why the remnants of the Empire want him, is truly going to shake up the fandom, and how it will lead to endless other stories to tell down the road." Now, I want to just kind of talk about this for a second before we get to the next big piece that Jon Favreau teases. Now, the fact that they are creating these revelations related to Grogu's origins and his backstory, and how a lot of it really is going to, quote-unquote, rattle the internet and rip it apart. Basically meaning that the fans are going to go wild, they're going to be ecstatic about what they have just saw in Mando Season 4. Now, Favreau has confirmed about this that if Mando 4 deems to be successful and actually becomes successful, they are planning to actually end the series at a Season 6 and wrap everything up. If Mando 4 just does okay and leaves on an okay note, they're going to stop it at a Season 4 and move on to Star Wars Mandalore. And we talked about this too, of how Star Wars Mandalore, it's a show that's going to be the evolution of The Mandalorian, where all the characters are going to group together and they're going to split up into different, micro groups, essentially, going on different adventures. For example, you're going to have, like, Luke and Ahsoka, you're going to have Din and Grogu, Bo-Katan and Sabine Wren, and other characters thrown in the mix, and Ezra Bridger and other characters in there as well. So what I like about this setup by Favreau is that he is putting it forward that these revelations related to Grogu are going to be substantial. They're not just going to be over-exaggerated, marketing filler or anything like that. It's going to be quite a big thing for the Star Wars franchise, and not just that, but for pop culture as a whole. To me, if you guys want me to be honest, I'm not quite sure if they can really topple what they are about to topple. Alright? We're going to tap into that right now. So he goes on to elaborate. Myself and Filoni wanted to make sure that Grogu's identity was going to be big as the I am your father moment. Now again, are they really going to be able to topple that big moment in Empire? I'm not quite sure about that. That's very hard to actually overcome. Again, the I am your father moment was so powerful because no fans were expecting any kind of twist and or turn. Nobody expected that. You know, and it wasn't just the reveal. It was how it was so embedded in pop culture that fans just grew up with it without even seeing the movies in theaters. So it's just such a big moment in pop culture, almost as big as, you know, big moments in the Godfather trilogy and stuff like that. Moving on. He says, we wanted something that would really break the internet, and it's not just about Grogu, but it's also about where he comes from, and specifically what he really is. This is the story that we are going to tell in Mando 4 that we are just so passionate about right now. We ran all of this by George, and he himself told us that without a doubt, he believes that will surpass the moment that Vader revealed to Luke that he was his father. And that was a lot to take in by George, and I just hope he wasn't just being nice to us, haha. But jokes aside, he loved it, and it's super exciting for everything that's about to be done. So, once again, you know, Favreau putting it out there and becoming very clear that even George Lucas said that he believes that this is going to topple the I am your father moment. Again, George Lucas, if he said it, I have some faith that John and Dave really know what they're going to do with Grogu and how it's really going to change the entire Skywalker saga and how we view certain events in there. Favreau actually talked about this, and we covered this about 3 weeks ago, is that Grogu's origins, who he really is, where he comes from, what he really is, what the Empire wants from him, it's going to span across all 3 Star Wars trilogies. So basically the prequels, the originals, and the sequels, Grogu's story is going to have a big impact on all of the movies that were created by George, that were created by JJ, and yes, even Ryan, and how that's really going to alter or distort our perception of the Disney Star Wars movies and the George Lucas movies. So, that, of course, is something very big. And everything, of course, you know, aside from Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni trying to really kind of raise the bar, they really are trying to make it authentic. They don't want to just make something for the sake of making something of shock value. They want to make sure that story-wise this is going to work, that it's going to just flow very naturally with the fans, and that it's going to really be a big moment in pop culture and in the Star Wars universe. So, like I say, if John and Dave can pull this off and really make it as big as they promise it to be, and the fact that George even said that this really has potential of surpassing the I am your father moment, I think that there is something there, that we're onto something, that John and Dave are really going places now. So, anyways, I'm really interested to see what you guys have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. No hiding from night to moon.